Hi, it's Bea with Crafting Daily Dose, and today I have a fun fold alternative for the August 2023 paper pumpkin kit called Meaningful Flowers. We're using supplies from this project as well as the bonus stamp set to create a card where the stamped image is the focal point of the front. We also get an explanation of the symbolism of the lotus flower, and I love how it says that it emerges from the water. So, of course, we want to make sure that it does emerge. Stay tuned and I'll show you how to make this step by step. Here are the supplies that I'm using for this project. The card base comes from the kit, and this side was originally meant as the back, but we are going to use it as the front. This is the decorative panel, also from the kit. It starts out like this, and then I cut off 1/2 inch from the left side. So now this is 3.5 inches across by 5.25 inches in height, and it's been scored at 1 inch from the top. I'm using the lotus die cut and the envelope. We're going to cut this out together. I'm also going to use the clear embellishments. Now I want to have a lotus image for the front of the card, and there are a couple different options. First of all, there is one extra die cut in the kit, so if you want to use it here, that's the quickest and easiest way. If you're okay with using a smaller image, you can cut this flower out from the front of the envelope because we're not using that part. Or you can do what I'm doing, which is to stamp out an extra flower using the bonus stamp set that we got this month. If you're stamping, you'll want a piece of basic white cardstock that is large enough to fit the flower. You can stamp it with a single ink, and if you don't have a lot of colors in your collection yet, then go ahead and use the Pretty Peacock ink that came with the kit. I'm going to be using Melon Mambo ink, which is this same color. Now the stamp is going to create a gorgeous image, but I want mine to look a little bit more blurred out, like it's been painted. So I'm going to use my blender pen for that, and I also want to create a yellow center, and I'm using my Daffodil Delight Stampin' Write marker. But those extras are optional. That's everything, so we're ready to get started. I'm going to show you how to cut the envelope first because we're going to need it to stamp on. So I'm going to turn this upside down so that I've got this flat edge along the top, and I'm going to put it into my trimmer so that it's very close to this track here. Now, because it is so close to the track, I'm not going to try to push my cutting blade up against it from the bottom or from the top because it's going to meet a lot of resistance. Instead, in order to cut a nice clean sliver, I'm going to place it somewhere in the middle, and then I'm going to push my blade down, and then from there I can go up and down. So I get this clean cut, and there's no tearing. Now I'm going to flip it over this way again so that I can have that straight edge along the top, and I'm going to cut the other side. Now you can see that once I've done that, I'm able to open this up. Now this is beautiful, and you can certainly use that for another project. Here though, we are going to be concentrating on this section. So I'm going to very carefully peel away these little pieces here on the end. And as I peel them, I'm going to peel towards the edges. That way, if there's any tearing, it's going to tear this way, not into the part that I want to use. Okay, now I'm going to take this score line and I'm going to line that up with the track of my trimmer so that I can cut right along the score line. And then I'm going to cut down the height. So I'm going to turn it this way, and I want to measure out 2.5 inches. So here's my 2.5 inch mark. And the nice thing about this trimmer is that this guideline goes all the way down. So even though my edge up here is not perfectly straight, I can put this at 2.5 and just follow that guideline down and then cut. Now I'm going to create some score lines. So I'm going to place this over at 5/8 of an inch. One way to think about that is to go to the 1/2 inch mark and then 2 more of those tick marks. So that's an extra 1/8 of an inch. And right now it doesn't have to be too exact. I'm moving my darker blade out of the way because that's going to cut, and I just want to score here. Once I've created that score line, I'm going to fold this back and just press it with my fingers. And now I'm turning it over, and I want this clean edge at the 4.25 inch mark, which is right here. I'm going to create another score line. And now this is the little pocket that goes on the inside of the card. Now it's time to stamp, and I'll begin with the card base. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to be stamping a leaf here, and then another one in this area. This is Pretty Peacock ink. Next, I'll stamp my piece of envelope, and I want to have the lighter area towards the top. Now, since the lotus is going to be emerging up, I've chosen the sentiment that says, "You rise above the rest." I got a little ink smudge on my finger there, but that's okay because this part is not going to show. Now the bonus stamp set that we got this month has the beautiful lotus images, and I'm choosing the larger flower. Now if you look very carefully, these images are made up of a bunch of tiny dots. This is what Stampin' Up! Calls a distinctive stamp. It's like pointillism, where there are lots of clusters of dots and it's more dense. Those are going to be the darker areas of your image, and then where there are fewer dots, that's going to be lighter. Now, if you have a very juicy ink pad, like if it's new or if you've just recently re-inked it, you might find that all that ink gets trapped in between the little dots. So if you're getting a blotchy image, it's probably because there's too much ink there. You can take a blending brush or a sponge dauber after it's been inked up and then lightly swirl over the stamp. That's going to help distribute the ink and give you a better result. If you've already been enjoying your ink pad though, you'll probably get a good image from the get-go. So here you can see areas that are darker and lighter. So there's already beautiful shading here. To make this look a little bit more blurred out and painterly, I'm going to now use my blender pen, and I'm going to pull color from the outer edges of each petal down towards the center. Again, this is completely optional, just gives a slightly different look. So you can see there's a slight blurring effect, which I really like. Now I'm taking my Daffodil Delight Stampin' Right marker and I'm going to just color in the center here, just very quickly. And now I'm ready to cut out the flower. I'll start with a rough cut and then go in for more details. You'll notice as I cut that I'm moving the paper more than the scissors. Let's go ahead and assemble our card. So I'm going to open up the card base here, and I have folded along the score line on this panel and reinforced it with my bone folder. Now I need to add adhesive to this tab right here. I'm using my multi-purpose glue, but you can also use the tear and tape from the kit. Just make sure that you burnish it well to get a good seal. With my glue, I'm going all the way to the crease and all the way to the edges. Now I'm going to line this up right up next to the crease, and I'm centering it horizontally. You'll notice that there is a little bit of a gap down here at the bottom, and that's okay. Now I'm going to close the front of my card down onto that exposed glue. I'm burnishing it with my fingers, and then I'm going to give it a moment to set up. Let's take a look. That looks like it's sealed now, so that's good. I'm going to open it up for right now. Next comes this piece of envelope. We are going to use these as gluing tabs, and it's going to be glued right to the bottom of the card like this. Now, just to make things a little bit more neat, I'm going to cut little wedges off from the corners, just cutting off very skinny triangles. I'm also going to neaten up the side edges here. Now I'll put adhesive on those tabs. I'm going to tuck these tabs underneath. You can also do just one side at a time if that's easier. And I'm going to line that up with the bottom edge of my card. So you can see that that creates a little pocket there. I did not put any glue along the bottom, so that's just hanging free, just along the edges. I'm going to tuck the end of this panel into that little pocket so I can decide how I want to place my lotus. I want to make sure that I can see it well, but that the bottom of this leaf stays inside the pocket when the card is opened. If you have it so that it's like this above the edge of the pocket, that could create a little catch point that makes it harder for this piece to slide back in to close the card. So I'm going to put some glue kind of in the middle of the flower here. That way it gives me some options as I scoot it around and decide ultimately how I want to place it. And I think that looks good, like that. I'm going to press that down. Okay, let's go ahead and test this. Now you can see that as I go to close it, this other side that I did not glue down yet, that's creating a catch point. See how you can't close it further? That tells me I need to make sure those edges are all adhered well. So I'm going to untuck this. I've got a little scrap of cardstock that I'm going to put some glue on. And then this is going to be my little applicator. I'm going to slide it underneath the areas where I need the glue. And just in case, I'll do it down here at the bottom edge of this pad too. Now it's okay for the top part of this to curl up because that's not going to catch onto anything. So let's try it once more. I'm going to tuck this in. And now you see that it opens and closes with no problem. So we're ready to decorate the front. I've got the stamped image that I cut out, and I'll use my fingers to curl up the edges a little bit and then put some dimensionals here in the middle. And of course we'll add those embellishments. There's our finished card. We were able to use the bonus stamp set to create a striking flower for the front and paired it with an explanation of the symbolism. And when you open the card, sure enough, there's a lotus that emerges. Plus, there's plenty of room here for your message. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. If you're interested in Paper Pumpkin but don't yet have a demonstrator, you can find my subscription link as well as all of my other links in the description box below. If you get a chance to try this project, I would love to see it, so share it in my Facebook group or tag me if you're sharing elsewhere. I hope to craft with you again next time, and until then, have a great day.